let's focus on the metal space. It was buzzing yesterday. Remember, China's producer prices fell at their fastest pace in over 7 years in June. We are now joined by Peter McGuire, the CEO at XM Australia, who joins in. Hi, Peter. Good morning. Well, metals were shining bright yesterday. The hope is that we're going to be getting a stimulus package coming in from China. Are you factoring in that? And if yes, any quantum you're looking at?
Well, good morning. I think a couple of things. Greetings from Sydney. Yes, absolutely. You know, as far as China and the stimulus package and to try and, kickstart and re-engage their property sector and the overall economy, the domestic demand. So, yes, it was an outstanding day as far as yesterday. And then where we're sitting at the moment, I'm keeping a very close eye on aluminium, looking at copper. And overall, I think there could be a nice move to the upside over the next couple of months if this, if all this momentum starts to gain a little bit of traction. But of course, we do need consumers buying these finished goods. Maybe Chinese demand internally, and of course, an export-driven economy.
All right, Peter. So you're factoring in a stimulus coming in, right?
Well, I think you've got to. I mean, when I read the articles, I take on board what they're discussing, and I won't be surprised if they look at some form of stimulus. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So if you get a stimulus coming in there, you have a weaker dollar as well. That obviously bodes well for commodities. How do you approach it? What's your preference between ferrous and non-ferrous?
Well, they're very good when you're thinking about ferrous and non-ferrous. I keep a close eye on where we run first off as far as copper to give me an overall demand picture. And if that starts to tick up, I mean, when you're looking at iron ore consumption, it's been extraordinarily strong, and coal into China. So the growing demand in that sense. And I just like to keep an eye on what's happening on copper, give me a barometer as far as domestic health and global health, and then take it from there and look at, what standouts. So it's maybe a little bit early to call for, which markets are going to be stronger than others. But at the moment, I look at zinc, I'm looking at tin, and I still think, that composite of those metals is a nice way to focus.
You said that iron ore consumption has been very strong and you're seeing further upsides there. In the near term, say the next couple of months, what kind of upsides are we looking at, not just for iron ore, but for a couple of the other metals that you spoke about?
Well, I'm looking at it probably through a lens that may be a little bit tainted with, look from an Australian perspective, export-driven from the northwest parts of Australia. March, I think, and April were standouts. They were nearly, I think, at record levels. So that's been a very, very nice supporting mechanism for our Australian miners. Now, other metals, of course, there's been an overall across much of the sector, there's been underinvestment across many of those particular many particular mining segments. So I just want to see where demand is, what happens as far as continuation for US dollar. Do we see it back under 100 for that US dollar index in the short run? Or is it going to bounce from here when we get, another rate rise on the 26th of July? So the jury's out as far as dollar, but I think it should be an exciting time for across those metals.
Okay, all right. Any levels you could give us on any key metal that you're tracking that you expected to head in that direction?
Well, I think copper, it's currently just under 8,400 a metric ton. That's US dollar, so I won't be surprised if this stimulus comes in. You have to be saying 9,000 is achievable in the short run, maybe over the next, 6 to 8 weeks. I'd like to see that sort of number. And that will lift all boats. That's why I'm keeping a close eye as far as the copper side of things.
Okay, all right. Keeping a close eye on copper. Thanks a lot, Peter, for joining in and giving us a quick take on what's happening with China's stimulus, further stimulus expected, and all of that impact that will have on the metal space. But